All right, man. Here we go. All right, man. Hanging with Beatdrop podcast, episode 62, and we feel good. We had did we have drinks? Should we say that on camera? No, just a little bit. You know, just
Hey, you
just
said episode 62.
episode 62.
I got our first questions just because it's episode 62.
Okay, but
There you
before you get your first questions, we got my cousin Kevin in the building.
Hey,
Ivan Leon, aka Pinks, Roger Rocha,
ooh.
and most importantly, we got Estefania, aka Nia, in the building. Let's get a round of applause. What's good, Nia? What's good?
What's up? I'm good. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh,
Thank you so
hell
much
yeah.
for
That's what I'm
having
talking
me.
about.
I was excited. I've been waiting to like hit you up, but we wanted to make sure that we had a budget for Coca-Cola and random
Of
lines.
course. Necessities.
You know what I'm saying? It's all about the necessities. But we're excited to have you.
Yes, we are.
Obviously, you're fucking talented as fuck. We're gonna get into the music. We're gonna get into all of that. But first, we want to say welcome. Thank you for stopping by our nice little home studio.
Thank
know
you,
what I'm
thank
saying?
The homiest.
Yeah, how you
The
feeling?
homiest.
You
I'm
feel
feeling
good?
Great.
I
Yes,
like that.
I feel
You feel
so
good?
good. So good.
Thank you, man. We were having some great conversations. We were actually having some awesome
I
fucking
know.
conversations.
This should happen. This
Yeah.
podcast should have happened like an hour ago.
Yeah,
You're right,
yeah,
you're
we
right,
should have
you're
hit the record button before, but it's cool because we're gonna get into some better stuff. So let's. We always like to start from the jump. Who you are, where you from, and all that good stuff. So let's talk a little bit about yourself.
What's up, everyone? My name is Estefania Montserrat Padilla. That's,
Hey.
what my mom called me.
Yeah.
when I was born.
Yeah, when I was born. But
That's right.
people call me Steph, and some people call me Nia now. So I kind of
Oh,
let's
Nia.
catching on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's cool. I'm from LA. I grew up in the San Fernando Valley.
A1A.
A1A,
yeah, the
baby.
818, and
Yeah.
and here I am. So thank you so much for having me here.
That's awesome. So so for people that don't know, you have a fucking awesome voice. Like I remember the first time I heard it, you were in the studio, and shout out to Ivan, man. He put
Yeah.
us on you. You know, he was like, yo, I know somebody that's
I
fucking
remember
dope.
that.
And I
remember
was
that.
like, let me see what's up. And then you stopped by, and I was like, God damn, Pinky
That's
was,
her?
Pinky was right. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna tell him yet.
That's
Nah,
funny.
but I remember you stopped by with Mikey. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And shout out to Mikey, man. I remember he came with the guitar.
to Mikey.
Yeah, and
Mikey.
you guys,
The
yeah, and you
homie.
guys were like playing like some awesome fucking shit, and I was like, God damn. I was like,
Where
y'all
have
gotta
you been
chill.
all my life?
Yeah, I was like, damn. And I think I was just in awe. So let's start from the jump, man. How did you get into music? How did all that come about? How did you know you were fucking awesome like that? You know what I'm saying? Like for real.
I didn't know. I just
Yeah.
did.
Yay,
You
that's
know?
right.
Like
That's
I
right.
just did it. You know, like it
Yeah.
was just like what felt at home with me.
Yeah.
Ooh,
You know,
okay.
that I just did because it made me feel good and like
Yeah.
I had fun with it. Right.
But what were
Yeah.
your first steps towards the music? Like, how
Yeah.
did you know this music thing was for you?
That's right.
I mean, like I have specific memories from like kindergarten where I remember like we were literally learning the ABCs, and the
Yeah.
teacher in kindergarten would be like, okay, like every day we had someone new to like sing the ABCs, and like I would always raise my hand.
Yeah.
Like I would just always raise my hand, and I remember seeing old home videos of like me singing the ABCs and like wanting that attention and
Yeah.
wanting to be like, look at me, like I can make these sounds type
Yeah.
thing,
She'd be
right?
Like A B C
C, D.
D.
Yeah, like
Damn, girl.
you'd be surprised. I see these videos like now, and I'm like, oh my god, like
All the kids were mad. Like,
this is gonna be like my children, you know. And it was just like, damn, like I've had this like want
Yeah.
like all my life, you know, and like I just continue to do it, like whether it was a hobby or whether I'm like now taking it like seriously and like as a career, like
yeah.
I just did it because I had this tendency of just making sounds
Yeah.
and I remember in my early years of like taking out the pots and pans
Yeah.
and just making noises and just like
Yeah.
hitting the pans. I'm like, ooh, and like just making this mumble and just making sounds and like feeling good about it, you
Yeah,
know? And I was
yeah.
just like expressing myself, you know?
Yeah.
And so I just like always did it. So of course I'm always gonna do it. You
Yeah,
know? And it was just
yeah.
has already been like a part of me that I've just continued to do, even subconsciously, you know? And then it wasn't until like honestly in the last like 5 years I'm like, shit, like
This is it.
this is it.
Yeah.
Like this is honestly what I feel, like I said before, like at home with, and what I feel my most authentic self is just like singing
Right.
and just like stripping myself from like anything exterior and just really expressing the interior,
Yeah.
which is, you know, the voice.
But was there somebody you always like looked up to, or be like, yo, you know what, this is what paint me the way to doing what I'm doing right now is singing. Like maybe your mom, grandpa, tia. You know how they get down in the kitchen.
Of course. I get down in the kitchen. I can feel.
Yeah.
I completely feel. I guess just like my mom had always just put music on from, like when we're just like cleaning the house, like limpiando, like what it is, like those Friday mornings, you're just trying to get ready for the trying to get ready, listening to K-Love, like that's just
those bookies was on in full effect.
And just you got motivation and cleaning didn't feel as bad.
You're all like
right, like freaking feeling like Cinderella, just like cleaning and like singing at the same time.
Oh, hell
that was a thing, and I just grew up doing that. And so my mom definitely, and my dad too, like sang mariachi and just always singing, and like he would think he was like the best ever, which is great. Like I say I got my voice from my dad.
Was he good?
For sure.
Don't lie to us.
Yeah, he had mucho sentimiento. Mucho sentimiento. He had feelings. Like when he sang, he got feelings, and I think that's the most important because that's the artistry. It's just being able to emote.
Yeah.
And being able to like convert that sound with emotion and being able to transfer that to like greater audiences,
So when you were a kid, were you performing like in any like school plays or anything like that? Like
I guess I remember just like doing like church plays and like and doing like high school concerts and like auditioning for solos and like doing the musical theater and like doing all that. And so like it was just something that I wanted to do, so I continued to do it. And that's just like became who I was. And how do you practice, like someone that sings, because like how do you practice your craft? Like when you were young, is it something that did you want to play instruments first and then you found your voice, or did you find your voice first
besides the shower?
The shower. You know what?
Yeah. I be thinking I'm like losing
the shower was the first teacher.
Yeah.
Like I was like, you hear the reverb, and I'm like, ooh, like that sounds good.
You're like, okay, y'all like,
okay. I feel the soul. Like, it's just in there.
Yeah.
And I guess it's just, the first teachers. Yeah, it was just like in those moments of solitude. In those moments of solitude where you just like you're completely by yourself with your voice, and and I love to write. I do.
Okay.
I think I neglect more now because I so busy with that 9 to 5 that I forget that that's like my true expression is like through writing, and that's my interpretation of like everything that goes around me. And so being able to translate my writing into like song and music is just like a whole other experience.
Okay. I'm glad you brought that 9 to 5. Do you feel as of having a 9 to 5 helps or doesn't help to what you're trying to build in today's world as far as your craft and stuff like that?
I think it helps.
Okay.
I think it helps because at the end of the day, my music is my interpretation of my life. And my job is my part of my life, and so I have so many external things like and different experiences happening that I'm able to go through and then have that emotional experience and that interpretation through song and music, how to get through it, and that's just like the interpretation, and so it definitely helps. Like I said, like I think I mentioned before, like it fuels each other. It does.
Do you feel it's needed though?
I think at a sense it is needed because it allows me to experience life in an ordinary way, to express it in an extraordinary way.
Okay. So when you say that you like writing, like is it like you like to write your own songs, or explain how the writing process works? Like is it just your day to day, or is it just like you just lock in and then that could create a song or something like that?
I almost feel like it's both. It's completely both, where if I wanted to write a song about like anything I could, but when it feels most authentic and most real and most as an interpretation of life itself, and like as a song, as a scripture almost of like that experience, then it feels most real. And that's just like like my process of like my songwriting, because every songwriter has a different experience, because it's all an interpretation of their own life, of their own human experience that they're able to interpret in that expressive and creative way. And I feel like that's my way.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And do you feel like you ever get writer's block?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
When I'm thinking too much.
And how do you get yourself out of that?
Wait. What do you mean by writer's block for the listeners that don't know what you mean by that?
Yeah, I mean, writer's block.
Where you're stuck.
Yeah.
Oh, stuck like a plateau
You're stuck.
shit.
Plateau.
You know?
I think that's
Okay.
fair to say where
You
feeling
force
like a
you
plateau.
force your creativity in a sense, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, do you guys get that too? Shit,
Hell
I
yeah.
thought it was just for working out, baby. Shit, I'm learning today.
No,
as we
I mean-
speak.
No, it's true.
Sometimes, yeah. I mean,
Because even like working your own creativity and your creative juices is a muscle,
yeah.
you know, and sometimes you can get stuck because
Yeah.
you've exceeded, you know, so much potential and so much energy throughout a day, and
Yeah.
you're just like so burnt out too. Like this
Yeah.
idea of like being burnt out is so real
Yeah.
in a creative sense, you know, and like. And I think in anything, when you're exhausting yourself,
Yeah.
when of course you're you know focusing on so many different things, and
Yeah.
you're working that 9 to 5, you're splitting yourself in so many different directions
Yeah.
just to survive,
Yeah.
just to like, you know, make this money to survive, you know, and it's real. Like everybody is experiencing that, you
Yeah.
know, and not everyone's being so honest about,
Yeah.
you know.
And how do you feel like you get yourself out of that? Like, what are some tools that help you? You know what I mean? Yeah.
She said, "Let me tell
She
you."
said, "Where do I start?"
You know what?
Yeah.
I'm gonna be I'm gonna vouch for this, and I think that crying
Yeah.
is actually healthy. Like
Okay.
you need to cry every
Yeah.
so often. It's a release.
Yeah.
So many people, I think even males,
Yeah.
almost restrain from this action of crying because it's, you know, it's seen as so like feminine and so emotional, and it has such a negative
I mean, I'm not gonna lie.
comment.
Sometimes I get a
You know,
little thing on my
connotation.
eye.
feel you.
But like that's necessary.
Yeah.
Like you need to cry in order to get over it.
No, that's
You
real
need to
shit
cry
though.
over it and then get over it. You know,
It's been windy out here in LA, and sometimes I get something in my eye. I'm not gonna
Allergies.
lie, but,
Yeah.
you know,
allergies, of
Yeah.
course.
allergies and shit. Like,
Yeah.
You know,
So when
And
you
like-
yeah, go ahead.
and like when I sing, like sometimes like too, like when I'm feeling at my low, the only way to feel better is to like write about it.
to get to your high.
To document it in a way, either if it's in writing and like spoken word, because like
Yeah.
I write not even to like express to everybody around, just for myself too. I think it's very important
Yeah.
as a creative to like do things for
Hell yeah.
yourself too. Like no one needs to know about it. It's just for yourself, for your own well-being, and like I do that for myself, and it
Yeah.
helps me through.
Yeah.
You know, because everybody goes through shit,
Yeah.
and everybody has different ways of coping.
Yeah, right. That's totally right. Do you feel that as an artist and a singer, what would you like to be called, a singer, artist, or is that the same
Singer
thing?
songwriter.
Yeah.
Like, I'd say like I sing, and then I also like I
You're-
songwrite. I write the songs, so like that's what I am.
That's right.
Would you say that as part of you being that sometimes a lot of people could relate to the struggles you're going through at that time, and that helps for your future? Like, yo, you know what? For example, I'm like Beyonce sings about similar stuff, and I've noticed that a lot of females, and sometimes males too, can relate to what she's going through because she speaks it to existence, and not just that, she speaks it to like an album or something, and it's something she's going through, and you'd be like, fuck, I thought I was the only person that felt like that at
Of
that
course.
time.
Of course.
You feel that that's very helpful for people to be like, you know what, just fucking speak from the heart and speak from what you go through in life and shit like that.
Of course. Like at the end of the day, like songs are also stories.
Oh, girl, speak.
You know?
Speak to the generation out there.
Songs are stories, and like
Yeah.
you want to hear stories that you can relate with
Yeah.
and that you can feel with. Like I grew up listening to Beyonce, listening to Christina Aguilera, listening to Celine and like Whitney,
Yeah.
and like hearing all these like heart wrenching,
Warming, yeah.
you know, stories, and it's just like, ooh, like that kind
Yeah.
of love, that kind of love that you
Yeah.
feel and that you get to write about, and like that's life, you know,
Yeah.
experiencing all these like, you know, this roller coaster of emotions and like feeling it all,
Yeah.
you know, and that's, you know, that's just real, and that's just a part of the human experience, and like I want to do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to do that. I want to write things that like, first of all, like I can relate to. I feel necessary. Like I have this itch
Right.
to like let it out,
Yeah.
you know, like this release, and the only way to release it is to be in this form of
Mhm.
music,
Yeah.
You know, and that's the only way to make it real.
And, you know, you mentioned some artists, some great fucking artists. You know what I'm saying? Would you say those are some of your favorite artists?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, that's honestly, at the end of the day, like, I am only what I was exposed to.
Right.
You know, what I like reacted to.
Yeah.
You know, in my own unique way. And like my parents did like played me this. I remember going on road trips and like listening to like albums of Celine Dion because that's what my parents liked.
Right.
And that's just like
back
I
then
had
we didn't
to.
even have the aux.
I didn't. Yeah,
Like,
I did not have the aux.
Yeah.
We had a CD. We're gonna listen to it all the way, twice, maybe even 3 times.
right.
You
That's our
know,
destination
because that's
type
all we
shit.
had.
You know what I'm saying?
You know,
Real
to get
shit.
to our destination.
We
you
didn't
know?
have aux back then. We had CDs.
Yeah.
MP3 CDs if
Cassettes.
you were lucky.
I remember
Cassettes
listening
too.
to
Yeah.
cassettes.
You're right.
Easy. And I remember like it was great. It was
Yeah.
the life. Like
Fucking awesome.
And I loved it. And I would
Yeah.
just be singing along the entire way. Like I remember going on road trips to Mexico.
Yeah.
And like these CDs being on like repeat. And that's just like what I listen to, you
Yeah.
know? Like
That's
Juan
hilarious.
Sebastian, like he's
Yeah.
my guy.
Juan Gabriel, you had to throw in
Juan
that in there,
Gabriel,
you
you
bro.
had
Un
to.
idiota.
Yeah, that
You
song.
had to throw in Paquita la del Barrio. Rata de
Yeah,
los
you
Pacos
got
and shit,
to.
but
You
like,
got to.
You know,
as a guy, you'd be like, oh shit, she really felt like that.
even like the songs from like La Posadas, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
all
That's
those.
posadas. Hell
Las
yeah.
Posadas.
Oh,
Just so we're ready.
That's
You
awesome.
hey, it's like a little buffet, baby. You had to have a little bit.
Yeah, you
My
got
mom
to.
would freaking put like Christmas music on like
Yeah.
June and just like
You're like, it's
we
too
were
hot
ready
for this.
it.
You're like, I'm
Exactly.
sweating.
While we're like cleaning, you
Yeah,
know?
you're like,
on Friday mornings, that's
Yeah.
just like what we did.
So do you
But-
feel like your family was really supportive? Like, has
Yeah.
your family always been supportive?
Of course. My
Yeah.
mom, I remember like so young, like I remember learning the national anthem. My mom would be like, oh, sing, 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 sing,
Yeah,
sing,
yeah,
sing.
yeah.
All the time. And you know, even like to a point where like I annoyed my cousins at a point because it was so like attention seeking, you know? And I
They're like,
was
yo,
just
my cousin can sing. You want to sing? Look, check this out. Look,
Hey,
go
yeah,
ahead, girl.
Hey, look
sing.
at her.
My
Hey,
mom at
cántala,
every-
cántala.
Hey, you
like
had-
in misa in the middle of the night, like,
like,
oh, canta, canta, canta.
you be
You
like,
know,
mira,
just do
padre,
it.
ya
Like,
sé-
Ave Maria, you know, you just gotta do it.
You be like, mira, padre, ya sé que tú tienes un chorus bien chingón,
Yeah.
pero mira.
Pero mi
chécala,
hija,
chécala.
mírala.
Venga para acá, venga para acá.
You like eating
Which
like
on the
True.
spot.
Like,
Ah.
you know, your moms, your tias are always your biggest fans, which is true. You
That's
know?
real shit.
And like, that's where I like came from.
Yeah.
But it's just funny.
No, that's awesome.
It's just funny. It's just so funny.
Hey, but just going back to my question.
Mhm.
This is episode 62, and I
Uh-huh.
do have a question for you
Yes.
because you came out on channel 62
That's true.
on Tengo Talento, Mucho Talento.
Yes,
Talk
I
to me
did.
about that.
Mhm.
that was an interesting experience. That was about like 3 years ago, and
Okay.
I will admit, like I still get recognized.
How
for
old
that.
were you?
I was 21.
21?
I was 21, and I was like still like my senior year in college, and I was like, I'm gonna take this chance like now or never, you
Yeah.
know. And I just did it, and like it was cool because I got the opportunity to sing with all my best friends from an a cappella
Yeah.
group at the time, and like bring everybody on board and just like have this like unique experience. And it was so different on the show
Uh-huh.
that made us so unique and like made us stand out in that way. So
But-
which is so cool.
How did you get involved into Channel 62? Like, walk us through it. Like,
Yeah, how did that come
this
about?
happen? Yeah, how did it come about?
You know what? And it runs deep. Where I remember singing at my godmother's funeral,
Okay.
and I remember like my aunt, my cousin's wife, which is kind of like my cousin,
Mm-hmm.
and she posted me on Instagram, and someone saw the video and was just
Yeah.
like, "Yo, like who is she? Just have her audition." And she sent me the info, and I was like, "Yeah, like let's do it." And so I'm like, "Why not? Like I have nothing to lose. I have
Right.
nothing to lose. Like this is in Burbank. Like I live in LA. Like this is 15 minutes away. Like
Yeah.
you know, like I'm doing school part time. Like I have so much time to just do this." And so I took the chance. And I remember like we went on a trip on Big Bear, and I asked my dad, I'm like, "Dad, can you drive me?" Because I was still kind of scared to like
Yeah.
drive freeways because it
Yeah.
was just it was
Yeah,
like a big
Joe,
thing.
I drive from here to Burbank. That's
Yeah.
15 minutes, but
Yeah.
to Burbank, I mean
To like
Big Bear,
Anaheim,
it's a
yeah.
little-
And I missed the original audition in LA, and they were like, "Yo, like you missed it, but like we still have one in Anaheim if you want to
Okay.
come out." And I was like,
Oh,
"Yeah, let's
shit.
just do it." So I sang in Spanish, and this was out of my comfort zone because I don't usually sing in Spanish.
Okay.
My first language, I guess, is like Spanish and English. Like I learned it
Spanglish.
like
Spanglish,
Spanglish
yeah.
completely,
Okay.
and so I grew up just speaking both of them. So I could do it, and I challenged myself, and so I did this entire competition.
I mean, Drake did
in
this shit.
Spanish. Yeah, why not? If
Like
Drake
that.
can do it, like I can do it. Like
Yeah.
come on. And so I took that chance, and I remember my cousin like came out, and it was just like such a special moment because like it was a chance. Like I was just risking it. I was
You take the
risking
leap of faith, baby. Yeah,
leap
that's
of faith and
How
like the
nervous were you? How
embarrassment. I was
nervous
so
were you?
nervous. Like I
Yeah.
remember like my heart was like
You're
like this.
like, oh my god.
Like oh my god. Like
like,
I
"Stop it."
swear like I choked a couple times, but like it's okay
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you know I took that chance and I was young and like they see that too. But honestly, I remember going through it and going through the show and seeing how like show business goes.
Whole
and,
different
and
world,
It was
huh?
a whole different world. It's just it's showbiz.
Yeah.
You know, everything is premeditated and like everything has a plot and everything
Yeah.
has is premeditated and I understood that and I was just
Yeah.
having fun. Like ultimately, like I was just having fun. Like
Yeah.
I was in college. Like it was my last year, and I was like I was doing so many other things, and like acapella was like a really big fundamental part of who I was at the moment. So it was really cool to bring along all my friends on the show, and we did it, and we just like did our thing, did what we did, and we just had a stage to do it for, and it was so different that it stood out, and that got me to like the grand finale of the show, and it was fun. Like it was just like so fun. And I remember speaking to the producer of the entire show, and he was like, you know what, like thank you. And I'm like, what do you mean like thank you? And he's just like, you honestly like had the best attitude throughout the entire show. And like I remembered that because I remember like I have nothing to lose. Some people were so nervous, so reckoned with, and it affected them. It affected what that they can actually do. And I was just, like I said, I was just having fun. Like this is just what I did like every Thursday, like when I just performed at school, and I just got to showcase that to a different kind of audience. Which was fun.
So how did this work? Like, was there an everyday week? Like, for example, I know I seen the some shows with my mom. You know how you go home and your mom's watching like the cache or some shit like that.
Yeah.
And for example, for me, it'll be like, yo, so 1 week it'll be like, okay, so this week we got like for example, 8-week finalist, and they kick somebody out, and there's like 5 more. Was it something like that, or how did that work?
Yeah, it was like a voting. It was a voting type of competition.
Process.
Okay.
Yeah, where people would like during like I think there was like semifinals and like quarterfinals or like quarterfinals or semifinals.
Something like
and
that.
then it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah. The
like
final
there
stop.
was
Yeah.
I just know I was in the
Yeah.
finals, baby.
Yeah.
That's it.
I see. Like I see.
there were different levels, but
Yeah.
I was in
it
the
was a
finals.
competition. It was a competition, and like
Okay.
I would admit, like I'm competitive. Like I've always been competitive. I've been in sports. Like
Hell yeah.
I've been in like dance stuff. Like and like competitions were like a thing because it was like a way for us to showcase like our best that we can do, and like and that be the best and be impressionable, and like it was cool. Like and that's just what I did. So when we came on the show and I brought everybody along, like it was just like, yeah, like we got this. It was fun.
Everybody
and
was on board.
Everybody was on board, and
Okay.
I think all my friends at the time, and even my family, like came out and like supported and like came to the live shows. Like it was so fun, and it's so crazy that was 3 years ago. But like, I still think of it like
It was yesterday.
it was like yesterday, just because it was so impressionable, and it was. It projected me into the direction that I am now, because it made me realize like, oh shit, like, you know what? Like I could do this.
Right.
I could do this. I can make something out of this.
Yeah.
And I continued on from there.
And how did that feel having like all that support? Your friends, your family.
Oh,
like
it was love.
Yeah.
It was complete. It was all love.
Yeah.
It was all love, and like you felt that, and that just motivation to keep going, because you don't want to let these people down.
Right.
Yeah.
And you have you say you brought your friends on board and stuff, but I did see something on your Instagram that said something. It was called project called One Step Closer, and it was chasing clouds. Tell me about that. Was that anything part to do with what were you doing on the show? Or
shout out to Mikey Tayoba, because honestly, like during that competition, like I had to have help. I had to have help, and he helped me out.
How did you meet Mikey, by the way?
Oh, during at CSUN, like we met in the acapella community. We were both in the acapella group, and he was the acapella, and he, was the music director, and like I took leadership roles in the actual organization, and we kind of knew how like things worked, and he's also so musically talented.
Dude,
and
like
dope so inclined. He's so
yeah.
dope.
Yeah,
was that like
that's why I fuck with him.
Yeah.
Was that like
a
group? Acapella? Was that a group?
We were in a group called Acasola, which is basically our acapella group in college.
Woo woo.
Yeah, woo woo. Shout out to Acasola. And they just became my best friends and like my musical family.
Yeah.
And I remember I told him like, hey, so I'm gonna be on this show and they want us on. Like, you guys down? They're like,
Yeah,
for
fuck
sure,
yeah.
let's do it. Let's do it. Like, we fucking skipped class and shit for this shit, and it was great.
Yeah.
And we went on, and I remember it was like during finals week, and everybody was like stressing out, but we still showed up.
Yeah.
We still showed up. And like Mikey, I remember we arranged this specific song because everything in reality show is like super last minute and like, you know, and I remember we had like one day to arrange a song that they wanted to do for a tribute for Joan Sebastian, which was Un Idiota. And I did that song. Yeah, I love that song too.
I don't hear it, but it sounds attractive as fuck. You feel me?
And he, despite not knowing the language, like helped me out. And we stayed up till like 4 a.m. just like finishing this arrangement.
Hell yeah.
You know what?
This arrangement of this song for the next day, like for the next couple of days, and just like rehearsing it with the group, and like everybody was on board. And like I'm so thankful for that because that was like life changing. That was honestly like I'm going to remember that for the rest of my life. And like from that we realized obviously he's the homie, and so we're like, yo, like let's fucking make music, let's just do it. And we both graduated at the same time, and we're like, well, we're unemployed. At the time, let's just do what we love to do and continue
like
on.
Nike, you know what I'm saying?
And just do it like Nike. Like Mikey.
Shout
out to Mikey.
Shout out
and
Mikey.
So we just did it, and then we did this thing called One Step Closer, which is basically our life motto. It's a life motto, which I also believe in, and it resonates with me, which is like anything you do, where you're going, you're always one step closer.
What I like about what you said is in life, I personally think that there's a lot of sacrifice you got to take. And for example, for you said you weren't working at the time. You were a student and you were pursuing a dream, and you had a lot of things going for you. And like you said, this music thing is like last minute, so you have to be prepared. Sometimes people don't really understand the extent of what sacrifice means, but walk us through it, what you had to do personally to get the job done.
Sacrifice.
That's a big word.
It is, and it's real, and it exists. It exists in everyone's life in so many different forms. And for me, it was family life. Like I missed a lot of important like bonding moments with my family and my cousins because I had a show, I had rehearsal, I had this, I had that, which at the time was a priority.
You're right.
Above family. I missed church, I missed this, and I was thankful that my parents were so encouraging at the time, but like I think back and I'm like, oh shit, I missed that. I missed that, and I missed this, and I missed that, and I missed that because I was putting time into this, into that, into this, into that, which of course grew because like time is, I feel like in my perspective, is like water for what is a plant to a flower to a fruit, Ooh, and
that's a really good ass fucking example.
It is, and that I believe in that, and it's true. Like any time that you put into anything, whatever you do in that thing, it will grow in a negative or positive way, depending on how you end.
You take it,
You take it, and you make that experience what it is. But like, I just exchanged time for, instead of going to this family event, spending time with like these cousins and my grandma and all, and going out of town. Like I spent it with going to shows and to rehearsals and to networking and to, recording and to all that. And like it's a sacrifice, but you got to see what it's worth. And worth is always so subjective.
Right.
Completely.
And I'm glad you brought that up. I'm sorry to cut you up, but I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of people don't really understand what sacrifice and things you got to do. And it's not that you're being an asshole, sorry for the word, but it's not that being an asshole. You're like, yo, I don't want to go to this event, like, because family's gonna be there and I got a gig or whatever it is in general. If you're a songwriter, you're a DJ, you're an actor, whatever it is. But a lot of people really, really don't understand that it's not that you do not want to attend the event or you do not want to be there. It's just that a lot of things are put in your plate. And when a lot of things are put in your plate, a lot of people don't understand that it's like, yo, I'm trying to work to bettering not just myself, but sometimes I've seen that people have been put in situations where it's like, yo, I'm like low-key the head of the family. I got to feed these people. And in order for me to do my job, to get the jobs done, I got to sacrifice my time to be with my family because I got to get this done to get not just the paycheck, but just to further my education and to further my networking around me to get the stuff done. But in order to get that step done, I got to sacrifice my time to spending with my cousins and my families and to get involved in the family gathering. So I got to sacrifice that to do the job.
Yep.
A lot of people don't understand that. Yeah. So as you, as a songwriter, as an artist, how do you feel that people have to move on with that step to understand? How would you make people understand the steps that you're taking to get there?
I guess that just comes down to results.
Okay.
Yeah.
Results.
Yeah.
You know?
Actions speak louder than words.
Yeah, actions will always speak louder than words, and you know,
because they always see you as a bad person, like, yo, why?
Like,
he's so
you don't want to spend time with us. She doesn't want. She doesn't spend time with us, and she doesn't want to spend time with us.
Right.
Which
you got to be selfish in a sense.
Yeah, and I admit, like, I want to, like, I'm there, like, I try to be there as much as I can, but you know, they also have to understand, like, this is a different kind of field.
Yeah.
Different kind of field, and like the love is still there.
And do you feel like, you know, the music, that field, you know, you went to college. What did you go to college for?
I studied communication studies, and also, like, it was, you know, it was so much about like poetry and performance and philosophy and psychology and just, you know, it was very theory based. As well as minoring in psychology, which was, you know, also very, you know, science-based. Yeah. So I kind of, you know, I like to think that I'm, like, well-rounded. Yeah. In a way where, you know, I love people, and I love the fact that, like, you know, the humanistic experience and understanding that, and just being a humanitarian, you know? Yeah. And just using that as, you know, who I am, and letting that bleed into everything that I do, and just making a positive change in anything that I do, whether it be, you know, doing music, or like being, you know, a sister, or, you know, a mentor, a counselor, or like a, you know, a camp director. That's just like a part of who I am, and I'm able to make some sort of effect through that, you know, and being self-aware of that, you know.
And how do you feel that
self-awareness is like huge?
And how do you feel that has helped your writing process?
Oh, completely. Like, I think my, like, day job, I like to say, like, has completely affected how I think of who I am as a person, as, you know, a female, as a woman, as like everything, like, because I think I mentioned before that, like, I work with the public, I work at like Parks and Rec, and like I'm stripped from like my creativity in like music, and I am just who I am. Right. Yeah. You know? Yeah. And I'm able to just be a character. Yeah. You know, and like a human, and just like help out and like do that, and like being able to transcribe like all my experiences from like working with the public, and like interpreting that into like music. Yeah. Is like the way that work. Yeah. You know? You know,
it's crazy that you say that, like, you know, you working your 9 to 5, like, of how that, you know, it's crazy, because I feel like sometimes I feel guilty when I'm doing something that's not music based. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like sometimes, you know, you have to get away in a sense, you know. But yeah, you know what I'm saying?
As for now.
As for now, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's one of those where I feel like you put so much pressure on yourself when it comes to music. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it could force yourself, you know, in a sense, you know. So when you work your 9 to 5, you know, in a weird way, it's kind of like needed. You feel me? Like it's you know, it's one of those where it kind of helps. It helps you kind of get away from forcing yourself, because I feel like, you know, I really wanted to talk to you, because I feel like it's one of those where I feel like, you know, whether it's me producing, like, I feel like sometimes I force a sound, or I force something, and it's like it just doesn't come out natural. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes when you kind of step away from the music and you come back, and, you know, in your end, you write a song, and it just feels so free. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like an escape is good. You know what I'm saying? So do you feel like your 9 to 5 is an escape from your music in a sense?
Hold on. Before you answer that, this is a question between both of y'all because I'm glad you asked that question. But to add on to that question was do you think actually a lot of people in this world, whether they're going to get to either as artist or DJ or producer or any other field you want to get into, that sometimes you need an escape in order for you to focus? Because sometimes like always being around the same thing, like writing, or DJing, or cooking, whatever it is, do you feel that you have to have at least some sort of clear mind of doing something else in order to get further on to your path where you have to go?
What do you mean by like further on with your path?
So for example, you're an artist, you're a singer. My bad. You're an artist.
Yeah,
you're a singer. And you're always
trying to clarify.
fill me in more on that. No. For example, so you're an artist and you're a writer. You're always around that. Do you feel, furthering to his question, do you feel that sometimes you gotta exit out that bubble and do something else around it in your natural life in order to get a calm and a peace, to get your thought right, to go back to it and actually deal with the process?
Yeah, I think a lot of times music as it is seen as an escape from reality.
Right.
You know, it's just kind of like a way to tune out your reality and just like escape in this musical magic.
Yeah.
You know, where it can just like take you away for like 3 minutes and 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Forget about whatever problems you have.
Yeah.
And just like be and feel and absorb and just like record, you know, what you're feeling. And like, I guess when I'm writing music, even to like your beats or like just like, you know, at the top of my head, like I think I mentioned before, like it's an interpretation of like what I'm going through.
Yeah.
You know, it's a story of what I'm going through. And it's a way to relate to everyone that's like listening.
Yeah.
You know?
So going backwards, you know, how did you feel that you were ready to somewhat showcase your music? You know, because I feel like as a creative, you know, that could be nerve-wracking. You know what I'm saying? When you want to show something that you built from scratch. You know what I'm saying? So how did you feel like, you know, whether it was, you know, when you were younger or middle school, whatever it was, like, how did you feel you were ready to be like, you know what, like, I'm ready to showcase either a writing or, you know, a song that I'm ready to perform? Like, that's nerve-wracking. You know what I'm saying? Cause
practice.
You know, because you know, like, it could be a song that
practice.
Practice is key, baby.
Yeah.
And it all comes down to confidence too. Like if you even have like this want to even share this idea, this thought, it's like, ooh, there's something there. Yeah. There's something there. And you need to like take hold of that. Yeah. Because I've written some like really intimate stuff. Yeah. Stuff where like I remember like performing in front of like complete strangers and then just like feeling comfortable with that uncomfortableness where I felt like this was real. And this is necessary to share because it's real. Because so many times people out there who don't have this, you know, necessity to share still have this necessity and this want to like listen and to seek this interpretation that like resonates with them. And like if you have the ability to like share that and to express something that like is shared with someone, like that's almost your duty, you know. And I feel that with like a lot of like my poetry too. Like I write a lot. I don't share it as much. I will be honest, but it's because it's intimate and like you don't think you're ready for that, or your audience will be ready for that. Yeah, you know, because you know you don't know who you follow. You know, obviously it's personal and like, but still like it's still real. And people want it, and people want to feel that, you know, because so many times I felt that through other artists where I'm just like, yes, like, you know, you speak the words that I'm too afraid to admit type thing.
Fuck, that's so
okay.
Good. That's so good. Yeah.
I have a quick question. So, for example, you're a songwriter and you're an artist at the same time, but at the same time, obviously, you know who Miss Elliott is, right? So, for example, correct me if I'm wrong, I know she wasn't allowed to perform some of her music because she's a writer too, just because of the way she looked, right? For example, for you, you're talking about some stuff that is intimate, some stuff that you don't know if the world's ready to hear you.
Mm-hmm.
How do you know it's the right time, or how do you feel, everything that I'm saying or I'm speaking or everything I wrote is right for the world to hear? For example, she at that time, I remember hearing or reading about some articles that's like, yo, you can't sing this song, or you can't hear about this lyrics just because of the way you look or the way you are. And she got cut down to a couple stuff where it's like,
She was
you
limited.
she was limited. So as this generation grows and now of where we are, how do you feel personally? Speaking personally, I'm not speaking about everybody else. Speaking personally, how do you feel about that?
You know what? Living in the United States of America, where we do have really good copyright rights, and as a musician, like, we do have this sense of freedom with what we say and what we do, especially in the form of music. And like, as an independent artist, like, I can really say and do whatever I want.
That's right.
You know, like, I can do whatever I want. Like, I'm not owned by a label. Like,
That's
I
right.
really do. At the moment I am owned by a label, that's when they have suggestions of how I should act, what I should say. But from now, like, I'm free. And I think that's powerful. Until like that freedom like attracts other people who appreciate like my perspective and everything like that, and like start listening, like, that's when like other labels have an opinion of what I'm, should say and what I should do.
Right.
Shit, I'm glad you said that, girl.
Mm-hmm.
Because honest to God, I'm glad we're going through this, because I heard, you know who Russ is, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, I was on my break one time. I was at work. I was hearing a video that Russ had actually said about, and it was like how times from, was it 2008 to 2019, shit has changed for the music drastically. And I don't know if both of you guys could relate to this, to what he said, and you guys can look it up. I'll tell you guys later on. But he said something about back then, it was crazy how it'll be like, cool, like, yo, I'm gonna get 10% from this record label because promoting and all this shit takes time and all this shit. But nowadays we got Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, all these social medias that's all like, yo, that shit is, you could do yourself type shit. So it's one of those where it's all like, yo, back then you really needed help and stuff like that towards your music, and now you could literally do it on yourself. That's why a lot of people are not signing with record labels, stuff like that. What can you relate to what Russ said?
I totally can. I think we live in an age, especially for the music industry, where like you have control of your music, of where it goes. Like, honestly, like where it's publishers, like you can be your own publisher. Before this, all this promotion, all these platforms, like the only way you can be known and be popular were from the sources of like labels, who had the connections of like all these people. But now everything is just like such a free market, and like, you are who you know in this way. And like, if you know really cool people who have like really good influences, like you're good. You're fine. Like you're gonna, make some revenue off of the people who, know you and who listen to your music and who enjoy it. You are creating such good content, and that's important to know that, like, the good content and the good quality music that you're producing out is like, is enough.
And now you could distribute your own music, like on TuneCore and
everything. DistroKid, like Mikey and I, like through One Step Closer, like we do that. We manage ourselves, like like a manager, whatever a manager does, like we do it for ourselves, which is like contacting people, answering emails, like booking our own shows. Like we do that ourselves.
And you feel that gives you a space of freedom, a space of yo, I honestly back then I would need a person to do that for me, but just in where social media is at, where I understand of where it's taking me, I could do that for myself. Do you feel that that's really important for an artist and a songwriter to do? Or to have?
I mean, they have the opportunity to like gain all those contacts on their own. Of course, like if you need help, and there's people who are always willing to help, and that's great. And if you know people who are willing to help you in that way, in that field, and in those like connections to like really level you up, then like that's valuable too. that's completely valuable, but like nowadays, like it's not necessary.
Yeah.
You know, you can still like do your own thing and be successful doing your own thing by doing your own thing.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And-
No, that's understandable. But let's say by cutting that middleman,
Mm-hmm.
do you feel that you have to deal with that type of pressure? Do you feel that's like something that people should do or people should take upon themselves? Because honestly, on that point, what I'm speaking of is like, yo, I have to, let's say, be my own manager type stuff. I have to cut the middleman out, and I have to do a little extra. But do you feel that that's something that it's like, yo, you know what? If I don't need that person and I don't need that extra step, I could do it by myself. Let's just do it.
I mean, it all comes down to control.
Ooh, okay.
To control, like
Yeah.
you know, when you give that control to somebody else, then it's just like you give that control to somebody else, and that's also like responsibility, and responsibility like weighs on you.
Yeah.
You know, so when you cut that control off and like somebody who's like helping you out, and you do that on yourself, then like, yeah, you have more control, and it's cool, it's empowering, but it's also like, you know, detrimental because it's like it's all on you.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so it's just like more pressure. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
And-
more pressure.
And going back to, you know, you performing, you know what I'm saying? I know you've performed in some big stages, you know what I'm saying? Whether it's Mucho Talento and all that good stuff. Like, you know, those nerves of you performing, I know, like, you know, you always get butterflies before you perform and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But, you know, how does that feel? You know, whether it's you performing at City Walk or whether it's you doing the TV stuff and all that, like, walk us how you go through that. You know what I mean? Like, how do you mentally prepare yourself for that? You know what I'm saying? Like, is that something you just kind of go like, all right, I got this. Like, what's good? You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, I always get nervous. Like,
Yeah.
it's real. Like, nerves,
Yeah.
butterflies, like, those are real, and they happen to me, like, all the time.
Yeah.
It's almost like this adrenaline type
Hell
of, like,
yeah.
seeking thing. And, like, I think I'm an adrenaline seeking type of person. Like,
Yeah.
I love it. Like,
Hell
it just
yeah.
makes me feel alive, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just, you know, it's just like my own kind of addiction.
Yeah. If you
You
had,
know, when I'm not performing, when I don't have these nerds, I feel like I'm not doing
What the
something
fuck
right.
am I doing?
Like, what am I
Yeah.
doing? Like,
yeah.
I'm wasting time. Like, I need this pressure.
Yeah.
And like, pressure makes diamonds.
Yeah.
Like, that's
Hell
what
yeah.
it is.
Ooh,
I
she
see-
said,
I
You
see
know?
you
Like,
there.
I- you know,
Give me
don't
some,
quote me
girl.
on that. I've heard this. Like, friends have told me this multiple times, and like picked it up, and I'm like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Like, pressure does make diamonds.
Yeah.
It does. And like, you get, you know, the wonderful things through pressure.
Yeah.
You know, you get gems through pressure.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like the odds are like, are probable, and
Yeah.
you know, you get to make something like amazing out of it. You know,
Yeah.
it's like there's like doubt in there, and then like people are like, oh, like I wonder if she's gonna do it, and then she
Yeah.
does it, and like, oh, amazing, you know.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
And so that's great.
Hey, I'm glad you spoke about that because you speaking about diamonds and opportunities. There's this one thing that I did see on your Instagram, and you had an opportunity to see it at the world's famous Capitol record on October 17, 2015. How did that feel? You're like, damn, this motherfucker really went back
Damn,
to
like
Instagram.
real back.
like, why you
Hey.
creeping, dog?
Hey, but I'm not gonna lie though. I'm not
You know,
gonna lie
it's
though.
steps. It's steps.
Hey, I'm not
There's
gonna lie
steps.
though.
He's like, what happened in 1997? And
How
like,
was
damn,
You
dog.
see-
Like,
hey, you see Stranger
I was
Things?
3.
Like, you feel me?
Yeah.
Come on now. Hey, but hey, you're talking about pressure and you're talking about all that. But tell me, like speak to it, and like that's a big record.
It was
label,
cool.
you feel me?
I mean, honestly,
How did you
it's
get
just,
to that?
it was just
man.
like through like acapella music too. Like everybody, like I remember that day. I think we like recorded, like we were doing some like
She said, "Damn, how'd you know about that? You got the plug like that?
what the fuck wrong with you? Why you
right?
doing that shit?
Like checking out my Instagram and shit.
Yeah.
But it's okay. That's why
Let
it's
me
there.
tell
That's why
you,
it's
girl.
there.
Shut
It
the
was
fuck.
a swipe.
Wait. Do you follow her?
Not yet.
You're a fucking creeper.
Like
You
that?
It's
see?
okay, it's
what
okay.
the fuck is wrong with
You
you?
know what? My
I'ma follow
profile
you.
is on
Hey,
public,
I'm
so
gonna
it's
follow
okay.
you after this Instagram.
It's
You feel
okay.
me?
Nah.
This
Yeah, I feel it.
Instagram.
I feel it.
Now you
I'm gonna
see?
shake on it.
You better follow back.
Nah.
I will. But you know, it's crazy because like, you know, I look back and I'm like, you know what? Every step was, you know, literally just
One step closer.
one step closer.
Oh,
like
awesome.
it really
Man,
was.
fuck
It
'em,
comes
nigga,
down
pass
like,
it. Like,
you
Yeah.
know, like
Matter of fact,
circling
I'ma
back
follow you
at
right
like
now.
everything that I did. It was just like, oh yeah, like of course that's what I was
Yeah.
gonna do.
Yeah.
Like it was just like the next step. You
Yeah.
know, and
Okay.
everything under that was like, yeah, that's what needed to happen.
Yeah.
And it was just, it made sense in that way. Like I remember we recorded with, we auditioned for this like calling for like an acapella group once again from like Cisa Nakasola, and we skipped class.
That's
and
right.
We all skipped class. It was like 16 of us, and we like went to perform in front of like all the executives of this like TV show called Castle, and we're like, let's just do it. Like we literally, once again, we had nothing to lose.
Yeah.
You know, and we like did what we did always, and then like they loved us, and they like, hired us all, and like we got the opportunity to like record with like Corbin Bleu and from like and just like do that whole thing, which obviously, you know, was such a great staple in like our own, you know, reputation, and it was just like an opportunity.
Right.
And I got to like sing and you know, get that experience. So like when I look back and everything that I do and everything that's like coming up, it's just like, well, yeah, like that. Yeah. That's just like the next step. That was just like what needed to happen, and it's just everything was just like. It was just leading up to that point, you know?
Well, you know what's leading up to this point? I just followed you, so you better follow back. You heard
I'll do that right
like
now.
that, imagine?
Do that right now.
She's like,
you
damn, this
I won't be
motherfucker
fake.
really
Let's
follows
just
me.
do it.
Yeah. She said, let me see how many followers you got first.
Yeah.
Oh, you got 2 followers.
Nah,
man.
look.
Denied.
No, but I instantly
I was
listen.
already following you.
Yeah.
I was already
wow.
following you.
Oh wait, that's bougie, dog. You bougie.
And we're gonna have to cut.
Vibing
I'm sorry.
Sorry about that.
But listen, I instantly became a follower to you thanks to my boy Ivan. You know what I'm saying? So listen, I remember when Ivan told me about you, like, and going back, like, yo, you're fucking awesome as fuck.
Real.
And I'm not just saying that shit. Like, I remember, like, when you came, you know what I'm saying? Wait, hold on. Let me give you an introduction first. Hold on.
Relax.
I'm trying. Yeah. He was like, I've been waiting. What the fuck? Nah, but listen, like, no, Steph, honestly, you're dope as fuck. You know what I'm saying? I'm not just saying that. Like, honestly, like, I've sent you beats and you're like, I got you. And then you send it back and I'm like, God damn, she's fucking dope. You know what I'm saying? I'm being real. Like, every time I show, I'm like, that's awesome. So I want Ivan to ask you a few questions because, you know, we've had guests on the show. And, you know, Ivan's been recording. He's cool. But he was like, I told him, like, yo, we got Steph next week. He went, hold the fuck up. He said, you guys got Steph? And I said, yeah, we got Steph. And he said, hold the fuck up. I said, yeah, we got Steph. And he got super excited. So he wants to ask you a few questions. You know what I'm saying? So Ivan, come on to the stage.
Get on board, baby. Hey, by the way,
on.
for those who don't know who Pinky Ivan is, that's a cameraman. Give him a quick shout out, motherfuckers.
Woo.
What's up, guys? What up?
Nah,
what up?
he's way more than just a cameraman. That's literally
homie.
one of my fucking best friends. Like,
Yes,
I know this guy for
definitely,
fucking
definitely.
years, and I want you to fucking ask some awesome questions because honestly, he was super excited to fucking when he found out that you were here. So go ahead, Ivan. Let's
Hey,
ask some
what's up,
fucking.
Steph? How you doing? How you
Yeah.
I'm just gonna make a quick introduction to me and Steph.
Yeah.
We go way back to elementary.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
And has been one of the most humble people that I have ever met.
Yeah.
In the industry, really, because a lot of people in the industry are very shaky. I'm sure you've experienced, Brian. Steph, same to you. You know. Going back to your a couple questions ago, you brought up you were playing with pots and pans. That did that somehow bring you into the music industry, and how important is it that your parents let you do that? Because a lot of parents, they hear noise and they're like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
True.
Mucho pinche ruido, no me dejas ver la novela y nada, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Right.
I mean, how did
Right.
your parents' inspiration and letting you flourish help you out?
They were very encouraging, I would
Yeah.
say. Like, I remember just being, you know, young and at every family party, which was like every weekend.
us
and
being
be like,
Latinos, we got
stop.
parties
Yeah. Like, we have a huge family. Like, it's some birthday, some bautizo. Like, it's just like something going on.
Yeah.
And I remember just like being there and just like, stop. Like, go sing.
Yeah.
I remember being so annoyed. I'm like,
Yeah.
I just want to chill. Like, I just want to hang out with like the cousins. But you know, I think back and I'm like, you know what? Like, that was just all like prep.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Just all prep with the pressure, you know?
Definitely.
And you know, it just like that just showed me like that and I didn't complain about it.
Yeah.
I just did. I'm like, yeah, this is my time.
Yeah.
You know, and so I just did it. And you know, and if it wasn't for that push,
Yeah.
like I wouldn't be where I am
definitely.
where I am today. So
you appreciate the push that your parents gave you.
of course,
Right.
of course. Sometimes you know, in order to fly, you need that push.
Hell yeah.
Definitely.
Nice.
Completely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I mean, how important is it? Do you think is it to just let your kids express themselves? I mean, I you don't have kids, but to you is it?
But I work with kids.
But you work with kids.
I
and
do.
you let them be free.
And I think it's important to, especially if, you know, you're with kids, you work with kids or you have kids, like to pique their interest on different things.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important.
Definitely.
I think
That's good.
like part of my job is to pique their interest and to really just like let them explore and be curious about different subjects and stuff. And I thank my parents for letting me be experimental with music, right?
Yeah.
And like letting me just like sing it out, play it out, you know, being as annoying as possible. Like, yeah, like I would, you know, be told to shut up, like, you know, like half the time, but like I still did it. Like I still fucking did it because like that's just like what I wanted to do. And like I continued on and like I persevered through all that doubt, through all that negativity. And I'm like, this is makes me feel good. So
hell yeah.
keep going.
Yeah.
So definitely very important to like let your kids, especially if you know you're listening and you have kids for yourself who like might have that musical inclination to like make noise and to be loud and be annoying, like just let them know that it's, you know, it's not just them being annoying, but it's them being musical, it's them being creative, it's them being expressive, you know, and let them just like letting it all out.
That's awesome. Shout out to Jacob.
Most
Shout out to Jacob.
He inspires me sometimes. But I mean, has you working with kids and I think you said elderly as well sometimes that come into the park, do they give you any motivation or any, not feedback, but inspiration or something like that can help you in music?
Everyone loves music, no matter what age.
Right. No, definitely,
you know?
definitely.
Like everybody loves music, no matter what age.
Right.
Whether you are 5 years old, like listening to like, so I work at a summer camp, and like I swear, like Post Malone's song "Sunflower."
Yeah, they hit
like
that
Sunflower,
right?
like they love that song.
That's crazy.
They love that song. They request it, you know. And it's like, why, you know? But they're 5 years old, and like it makes them feel happy. So like, why not? You know, it's like Sunflower. Like, why not?
They
right?
love that shit.
And like whether you're like, you know, 90 years old and you want to hear, you know, whatever song makes you feel, you know, makes
music
you
is
feel good.
beautiful.
Like music is
a
just
blessing.
a human. It's a blessing.
Music is touching, baby.
Yeah. So like if you have the power or the gift of music, like do it.
Yeah.
You know, like let that gift give.
Hell yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And like if you possess that gift, like just know like the only way to use it is to give it out, you know? Like lend yourself to this, you know, to this craft. And like I admit, like I just joined like my church choir like not too long ago, and that like that's changed me for a bit, you know, because like I didn't just go to church for like, you know, just to be with family and just you know, just like go and you know
Definitely.
you know, just to be holy, you know. But I did
Padre Nuestro, you got
Padre
me.
Nuestro, you know, and like I did that for such a higher purpose, and it reminds me like music is such a channel.
Yeah.
It's a channel, whether it be like trying to gauge a different realm through music or just trying to, you know, resonate with a different self, you know, when you're creating it or listening to it. Like it's such a human experience.
For a lot of girls out here, you know, they think that, especially nowadays with Instagram and trying to get more followings and everything, I remember we had this conversation once. We brought it up, but we never really touched base with it. I think it was a couple years ago. That's when we started talking again, right? Dressing provocative.
Oh, yeah, well, of course, definitely. You gotta know, you know, sex sells. It does, of course. Like now, as a girl too, like you know, you know that sex sells, and like it's empowering when you utilize your sexuality for profit and like for attention and influence, and of course, but like it's not everything.
Right.
It's not everything. And I think you need to be reminded by that. If anything, I like to think that, like, of course, like I'm female, I'm a woman, and, you know, obviously, like, I am a sexual being, and I have power over that. But that's not my only power.
Right. Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
and
Word.
I could use that power.
Yeah.
I could any moment, but I also like this whole power of like mystique and like
Yeah.
this curiosity. I think that's in this mysteriousness that like you
That
know,
mystery mystique. You
yeah,
feel me?
like honestly,
X-Men.
I love that, and I think in a world where we live in now, where everything's so like overexposed,
Right.
that there's value in like mysteriousness, and that I like to, you know, kind of like do, and you know, it can just be purely of my like music, and of course, like I could at any moment like use my sexuality as like power and stuff, but like that's not the only thing I have.
Definitely.
That's not
As you
the only
should,
thing
you
I
know?
possess.
Do you
know?
feel like
Yeah.
you
got more
have
than just
yeah
your body.
I'm
do you
more
feel
than
like
that,
do you
completely.
feel like you have almost caught yourself maybe being in that realm, like where you're like, you know what, like how can I expand my music? Do you feel like maybe at a time you were like, you know what, like I'm gonna go this route, but you're like, you know what, nah, like,
Completely.
yeah.
I think for a while I was like, oh, like I'm not sexy enough.
Mhm.
You know, like I'm not sexy enough. Literally, like I'm just like I'm not showing enough. Like I don't appeal to the male gaze as much.
Mm.
Is
you
that
know?
because of social media or is that because of something else?
I think it's social media because like I'll admit, like my Instagram too. Like I'm not as like I don't post a lot.
That's consistent.
I'm like pretty conservative. Like I don't like show off a lot, like my like skin and stuff.
Right.
You know, which is like, in my opinion, that's fine. Like I don't let my social media define like who I am as a person.
Fuck
But
yeah.
a lot of people like do, and that's understandable because when it's such a huge part of like your business and your brand and your music,
Yeah.
like it makes sense, you know. But I remind myself that it's not everything.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like you're
Question-
more than that, you know.
Another question. Do you think as people live for a vacation or people live for just a 9 to 5?
Both. Because if you're in love with your work too, then you live for your work too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And like some people like work so they can have leisure. You know, they work for the benefits. They work for the, you know, so they can have enough money to take themselves on these like luxurious trips and,
Right.
and you know, have this kind of lifestyle and then like work again, you know?
Yeah.
And like, I believe it. Like, it's true. Like, who am I to tell you how to live your life
Yeah.
if leisure is what brings you happiness?
Yeah.
You know, is it for me? Not completely. I wouldn't say so. Yeah, of course,
Yeah.
I like to like chill on the beach and like with loved ones and like have that, you know, moment of like peacefulness and
Right.
and like enjoy it with like, you know, in good times, and like who doesn't want that?
Yeah.
But I have to know that that's a privilege.
yeah.
That's a privilege, and if I have that opportunity to have that,
Yeah.
then I have to understand that it's a privilege and I worked for it,
Yeah.
you know, and it's, you know, a repercussion of everything that I've done in my life.
Yeah. No, I feel that. That's fucking awesome. Ivan, you got some great questions there.
Yeah.
You came with it.
Definitely. You know, I'm gonna go out with the bang. Steph, we a little earlier we were outside and you said you had reached a point where, you know, it was almost a setback.
Mm-hmm.
And then my boy over here, Beatdrop, he hit you with some really good production. And how did you use that to motivate you again?
What do you mean, like setback? Like you mean when you
were sort of like in a hole, I believe you said, or something like that.
A plateau.
A plateau.
Yeah. I mean, it's easy as like an artist or as someone who's like in this creative field to find new motivation to do something different and just create more.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I if anything, I feel like these moments of lows are once again like fuel
Yeah.
Right.
to create these new perspectives, to create these new ideas, these new narratives that I'm able to like transform into forms of art, like music, like lyrics, like anything like that, like melodies. And I remember because when you sent me that beat, you know, and I remember you called it Family War. Like I'll be honest, I was going through it.
Yeah.
I was going
feeling
through
myself.
it. Like, not that I was feeling myself, like I was literally just going through it, you know?
Yeah.
And like I reminded myself like what music was, which was a form of therapy.
Yeah.
And it was a way for me to process
You know
everything
what's
that's
crazy?
going
You know what's crazy? And I'm gonna let you on some inside shit. When I sent you that shit, I was going through some shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So that's fucking crazy. I'm tripping out because it's one of those where it's like, when you, fuck, that's crazy. I'm tripping out. I'm being honest. I'm being
Yeah.
it's the real honest shit. Like when you sent me that rough draft back, I remember I was going through some shit, and you know, even me, like sometimes I go through some shit where I'm like, man, like, you know, you do so much, and it's like you feel like maybe sometimes it's not reciprocating back. And when you sent me that rough draft back, I remember I listened to it, and I was happy. You know, I was happy to hear something refreshing. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like that's so important. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that's just life telling you, like, you know what, like you're gonna go through so much shit, but you know what, the grass is always greener on the other side. You know what I'm saying? So and I'm glad you sent me that, because sometimes you go through some fucked up shit. You know what I'm saying? Like life is weird. You know what I'm saying? And I'm glad that you speak on so many like great topics. You know what I'm saying? Because I always say this shit, you know, social media is a highlight tape. You know what I mean? Social media is a big fucking highlight tape. And like you said, you might not post as much as you want to. And I feel you on that. You know, sometimes, you know, I'm hesitant to post on some shit. You know what I'm saying? Because it's weird. You know, social media has you thinking many different perspectives and outcomes of how your life should be. You know, so I'm glad that you're speaking on that shit, because it's one of those where we're not perfect. You know what I mean? Like, and you know, for you, you know, you write so much, and that shit's good, man. Like I'm glad of the fact that how you're putting that out there. You know what I'm saying? And music is honestly an awesome outlet to express how you really feel. You know what I'm saying?
Completely.
Like, so I'm super happy. You don't got any more questions? You good?
You good?
Yeah.
No, you good? Hey, shout out to Ivan.
Yeah,
though.
shout out to Ivan.
Hey, no, thank you, dog. You can't.
Yo,
you
honestly,
can't.
Oh yeah.
let me be real right now.
Yeah.
Go to the bathroom.
Hey, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. I had to go to the bathroom too. So
Bathroom break. No,
Bathroom break.
Let's go. All right, we took a bathroom break, guys. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Much necessary.
Yeah, we drink a lot of water. You know what I'm saying? With a few limes inside. You know what I'm saying? And you're wondering how Ivan got back to his seat, and he did magic.
Fucking magician.
But
just in case you didn't know that.
Ivan is not done with his questions. You know what I'm saying? So Ivan wants to ask
No,
a few more
definitely.
questions, and let's get to it.
Go ahead.
Going back to that production with Brian, he's thrown you a couple beats already, and do you do things out of One Step Closer, individual things?
Yeah, of course.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think, you know, One Step Closer is a project. You know, it's a projection of, you know, a collaboration that I had with a homie and joining forces.
The homie
you know,
Mikey.
with
What up, Mikey?
Yeah, what up, Mikey? Yeah, shout him out.
What up, Mikey?
Yeah, but of course, like, I still have some other things, like, in Spanish that I'm working on, like, silently, but it's going.
Yeah.
You know, working under, you know, behind the scenes, but it's happening.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, definitely always working, always scheming up some things up my sleeve, and just seeing, you know, what I can do.
That's right.
And why not?
Yeah,
Why
definitely.
not?
you know?
It's now or never, you know?
Exactly. And then going back to those projects, you just recently came out with something with Mikey. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so Mikey and I released a song called Crazy in, I think, the end of March. Yeah, the end of March. And that was just fun. Like, he came up with the idea. And he's like, yo, like, help me finish the song. And so we did. And we finished it. And it was just, like, such a fun song. And it was such, like, a one step closer type of thing, which is a collaboration of both what we can do and, you know, a cappella and our harmonies. And, you know, and that was just so much fun. And we're doing that. And then we have another release coming out the end of July, which is the song called Taboo, which is like showcases a different side of us, which is like completely real and authentic. And we're also featuring one of our friends, Kari, who is you know, doing a rap verse to it. So it's just really fun. It's really fun. It's just like, it's so true. It's called Taboo, and it's just about, you know, working that 9 to 5, working that, you know, double life, and you know, going through it and making sense of it all. You know, and so, and you know, just living life, the young life of just, you know, experimenting with like all these different things that life comes at you, and making sense of it, and just making fun of it too. it's definitely making fun of it.
Yeah.
You know, with a friend, and it's just like, this is taboo here
Yeah.
when I'm with you. You know.
Yeah.
definite.
So it's
That's
just
awesome,
fun. I
that's
can't wait
awesome.
for it. So
Yeah,
yeah,
neither can
sneak
we.
peek.
Can't wait to hear that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
I think you guys would like it.
No,
actually.
I think so.
If
too.
you like
I mean,
coffee shop, then you might like
Coffee
it.
shop
was a
my
banger.
shit.
I think you gotta sing.
Coffee shop was my
Taboo.
You
shit.
gotta sing a bar. You gotta
Yeah.
sing a bar for us.
Yeah. What you want to sing? You gonna sing something?
You gonna sing a
Ah,
little bit of
why
Spanish?
not?
A little bit of
You
Wait,
Spanish?
wait, what
Little
you
bit of
gonna say, yo?
Spanish?
Get,
Oh,
clo-
whatever.
get closer now.
English.
Get closer to the mic so we can make sure we
Yeah.
get the full. So then I could release it later.
Yeah, so if you haven't already,
Yeah,
you know, I'm in this awesome acoustic duo called One Step Closer, and you know, we released an EP and some singles, and this song is called Coffee Shop. It's a little bar.
that's my
It's
shit.
you know,
Yeah.
some acapella stuff, and you know, it goes a little something like
Get
this.
it, get it, get it, get it,
We put her on the spot real quick.
I know, right? I'm getting nervous all of a
We
sudden.
gonna be at ease. We gonna.
Alright. Bring it down. Simmer down.
You can't fake it. You've awakened this feeling in my body. Hey, hey, boy, I see you waiting there. I just couldn't help but stare. Maybe love's in the air. Something.
Kill him, kill him,
Just a
kill
little
him, kill him,
something.
kill him, kill him.
Yeah,
Kill him with
so it's
that.
cool.
right.
It's really
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, it's just like a
Definitely.
whole other project. It's a different part of me. It's like almost like my English part of me. English.
English.
But
Hold on, Steph, let's get another round of applause, man. What you
oh my
mean?
god, relax.
Yeah, hell yeah. Raj
It's
was a little
cool,
bit off in
but-
his snap,
Yeah.
though. I'm not gonna lie.
He was like,
Yeah.
fuck,
Raj was
where
like,
do I fit it?
Yeah, but
I've
I've
going
definitely
1-2 or 2-1 or what's up with it?
always clap on
What's
two
the
before.
count again? What's the count again?
Yeah. So it's like I said, like it's just a completely different feel. It's a completely different feel.
Yeah.
It's a completely different feel, and it's just completely chill and like laid back, and you know, it's a collaboration between like two wonderful, you know, friends who just like wanted to join forces and create good music together. And so that's what, you know, Mikey did, and that's what our project One Step Closer is, which has gotten us so far.
Definitely.
Like we've, you know, two heads are better than one, like, you know, teamwork makes the dream work type thing.
That's
And
right.
We've kept that ideology and that you know, motto in our vision, and it's gotten us to where we are now, which is like, you know, performing all over LA and, you know, meeting so many people and just, you know, just keep going, like, you know, one step closer to anything that we're doing, you know, whether it be individual projects or, you know, what we're doing together. Like, it's just helping us move forward.
And do you have a residency anywhere, or do you guys just kind of perform anywhere?
You know what, we perform frequently as in places, which is cool. Not a residency, because we like to be open to different places.
No, I
And
feel
you know,
it.
we don't like to limit ourselves. And but it's cool. We've, you know, our next show is on July 27th.
July
And
27th.
it's at the Peppermint Club, which is the first yeah, the Peppermint, which is cool because it's the first venue. It's a new venue, and it's the first time we're going to perform there, and we will be releasing our song Taboo, and it's gonna be fun. Like, it's just like, we're gonna have a new band, and it's gonna be a band feel too, so it's gonna be more than just me and Mikey, more than just vocals and acoustic guitar, but it's gonna be like, you know, we're gonna have our friend Jaime Martinez on the saxophone, and also like our friend Marco Taro on the bass, and then we're gonna have my friend Vince, who's gonna be on percussion, and it's gonna be fun. Like, it's just gonna be fun, and it's gonna be a different slice of who we are.
Shout out to the
Right.
squad.
There you
you
go.
know
Yeah,
what I
to
mean?
the
Shout out
squad, to the squad for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
You got anything
Now,
else, Pinks?
Yeah, no, dude, if I can, I got a bunch of questions for Steph.
Yeah.
Go. I love
Yeah.
questions.
Okay,
Question
so-
everything.
You know, I know you for a while already. Your sister also sings.
hmm
Does she inspire you? Do you inspire her? How do you help her? How does she help you?
It's both. I feel like you know, when my sister comes, she's like, "Wait, how do I do this?" Or like, "How do I
Right.
sound better?" And like,
Yeah.
I'm there to give her advice, and it's like, "Ooh, like, I know things."
Yeah.
You know, like, "Oh, I can like help her out," and like, I have this certain, you know, view and this experienced view on how like things should sound and how they should feel and how they should be performed, and you know, it's just like this expertise type thing that she reminds me of.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, like she she definitely influences me, whether she knows it or not, because she's like younger and she's hip and she like shows me new music and she lets me know like what's in, you know, what are people, you know, obsessed with, what's the new trend, and I kind of like listen, and I'm very open ears
So
to
you
her.
do pick up a lot from her.
I do. I like, because I like to keep up with like, you know, what's
the
going
trend.
on, what's the trend, what's going on, because she's
definitely.
18, so she's like in the middle of it, you know. She's you know, definitely like there living through, you know, the musical experience, especially here in, you know, LA, and just being an 18-year-old, like, you know, you're fresh. You're fresh.
I feel it.
You know.
That's cool.
For
That's
sure.
cool. No.
Yeah.
You also write lyrics, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever collab with Mikey into a certain song, or do you write a song? Does Mikey write a song?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes when Mikey and I are, you know, at a rehearsal room, or we're just, you know, jamming out, like he'll come up with like a melody, and he'll just like, it can even be gibberish completely. And then like if I have a phrase, a motto, or some sort of like saying that like resonates with me, like I'll just say it out loud and like make a melody, a melodic phrase to it, and that just kind of sticks, and that becomes the hook. That becomes the chorus. That becomes something. And sometimes he'll come in with, you know, the melody and like a chorus, and then he's just like, help me finish it. And I'm like, yeah, for sure, let's do it. And then together we'll just like create the bridge, and like I'll write my second verse, and then we'll finish it, and then we'll, you know, it will be complete, and it'll be great. You know, it's a collaborative effort, and I think that's really important, because music is very collaborative and it's a social experience. So when you're able to like join forces in that creativity, it's just, that's where like the magic happens.
Hell yeah.
Do you feel as sometimes you gotta either have something scripted, or like you said, gibberish, and sometimes you just go for fun? That's when you get your best work from.
I think it's both, above, you know, all the above. You know, because sometimes I'll come up with a phrase that just like sticks. Like I remember I have this this one phrase that my mom told me called ojos que no ven, corazón que no siente.
Okay.
You know, and like that just that phrase just like sticks with me, you know, and I'm like, oh, like that can be a song right there, you know, and like I will just make something out of it that like fits, and that will just be like a song, you know, and that'll be the intro of something, and that'll just be like a hook or chorus or verse or something. Like it's you know, the blueprint of something that could be, you know.
Do you feel as like, for example, you say ojos que no ven, corazón que no siente, as that like title or that sentence, it could lead to obviously a song, a songwriting, but it could mean totally different to an individual person. Like from what I know from it could mean different from you, and to Brian, or different. It could go a different route.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty behind music and lyrics, is that it's always open to interpretation. You know, and I can say it and sing it in a way, but like it can mean differently to you, and that's perfectly okay. You know, we can still be on the same page, and we can still be singing to the same song and lyrics, but we like, you know, we're there, we're in it, we're together in this musical, you know, song and this musical journey, and like it's great, you know, and they can relate, and whether and it still means the same thing, you know, and that's what I'm here for.
That's right. I see you having good questions.
Yeah.
I see you. Good shit. Nah, hell yeah. Nah, man. So, what's next for Estefania? What's next for Nia? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. What's the goals looking like? You know what I'm saying? I feel like we've talked some great stuff, but you know, let's talk about what's next. You know, what's something that you see yourself in the future, or what's something that maybe you're planning to, you know, get done?
I feel like, especially right now in my life, you know, with definitely diving into my Latina roots and like Hispanic roots, like I'm really digging into Spanish and really indulging in that and using that as a form of identity for who I am and like in my music. And so that's why I'm diving into Spanish music. I'm really writing in Spanish, really just like thinking in Spanish, which is a completely different experience too. You know, I've been like speaking with my grandparents more, like my aunts and like cousins from Mexico, and just like speaking in Spanish, and it's just like like that's a whole other market. That's a whole other world that I can just completely enter. You know, that's still a part of who I am. Like I am bicultural. Like I am bicultural. Like I am Spanglish. Like I am Spanglish. Like I grew up, you know, of course, Chicana, like with the Mexican American experience, and I want to identify that both, you know, as my identity and as my music. And so I feel like, you know, I'm working on, you know, a 5-song EP and just, you know, diving into that. And like by using Spanish music, like that's just going to be the next step, you know, and just in my creative process and what I can do in my creative journey. So that's what I would say would be my next step, was just, you know, diving into Spanish, especially after Tengo Talento, and just, you know, projecting myself into that direction. Is just like, why not?
Yeah, just pick
why
at
not?
it.
Let's do it. Just
it does
pick at
open
it.
new doors to your craft and stuff like that. But you saying, yo, you want to open new doors and you want to speak into like a new like, for example, for Spanish wise and stuff like that. Obviously you listen to the new music right now. For example, right now a lot that's hitting is like trap reggaeton. You hear Bad Bunny, you hear Ozuna, you hear
Maluma, you know?
You hear all their styles and stuff is different. Can you say you could relate to like, yo, obviously you have some artists, and this is speaking about like, for example, Drake, who's not a Spanish artist, who everything he does is hip hop and R&B, and he's always speaking in English. You feel that him translating to like a Spanish type music, because he did a song with Bad Bunny, it's called Mia, and you hear him speaking Spanish, and you're like, yo, what the fuck is this? Like, you feel me? Like, and I've like, never ever heard him speaking Spanish.
And honestly, it isn't just like Drake. Like, it all started with even Justin Bieber, like doing that whole Despacito like remix. Like,
that's right.
He opened up like a huge door. Like, obviously Spanish music was always just like rising up, but like it wasn't until Justin Bieber with Despacito.
Was that with Luis Fontes?
Luis Fonte. Yeah. So that's when he made it completely mainstream. So I think now more than ever, like, Spanish music is mainstream, and that's crazy because, you know, say even 5 years ago that wasn't reality.
Hell no, it wasn't.
You know, which is crazy because like it's such a huge market, and like Spanish, it's just cool. Like everybody wants to be Hispanic right now. Everybody wants to be like Latino, and just like feel that like heat, you know, that sazon that you're hearing on Spanish and English radio now, which is crazy because it's just, you know, people are trying to capitalize off of that. And if you are of that culture and authentically of that culture, it's just like, hey, this is also just an opportunity. Yeah. This is also just an opportunity that you should, you know, you take can. Advantage. You know, not you should, but you can take advantage of. Right. Which, you know, once again, why not?
Yeah.
Why not? It's now or never, you know?
Yeah. No, honestly, man, Nia, you know what I'm saying? I appreciate, you know, you stop. I like how I said Nia. Yeah,
Nia, right?
I feel like I like how that sounds, you know what I'm saying? No, but honestly, Seth, like, you know, even off camera, we were having some awesome conversations. I feel like this Tuesday night was fucking awesome, you know what I'm saying? I feel like we were all just listening to you, you know what I'm saying? So we really want to say that we appreciate you, you know, stopping by, you know what I'm saying? We can't wait. You know, I'm excited we got you on the podcast now because, you know, later on you're going to be having so many fucking platinum gold albums that it's going to be hard to get you in here. You know what I'm saying?
Can we get her in here back?
Yeah. She's going to be like, yeah, talk to my manager.
One of those, man.
But honestly.
We all going up.
Hell yeah. But honestly, Nia, thank you. You know, even for me to send you records, and you always like try to jump on it as quick as possible. So thank you. You know what I'm saying? And just real shit. Thank you for stopping by. And I know your ceiling there is no ceiling. You know, real shit. You know what I'm saying?
You make your own ceiling.
That's right. That's what I'm talking about. So thank you so much for stopping by. You know, we're super excited. Shout out to Pink. Shout out to everybody having some good questions.
Thank you so much for having me.
You know what I'm saying? But for real, man, thank you so much.
Beatdrop.
Hey, say that again. That's gonna be a drop.
DJ Beatdrop.
Hey, that's right. Nah, thank you.
Tuning in.
Yeah, that's right. That's gonna be the intro of the podcast right there. You know what I'm saying? No, thank you so much. And thank you for real. Thank you so much.
Of
we
course,
appreciate it.
It's been an absolute pleasure just to, you know, be able to share my thoughts and just to collaborate with, you know, with you guys and just talk and just, you know,
Just conversate.
Just to
Have a noble
conversate.
convo.
Yeah.
Combo, you
That's
know,
right.
just that's real. That's real human connection. It's just like
true.
talking.
Nah, real
It's
shit.
expressing yourself, whatever form that is.
There it is. Round of applause for Steph, man.
Round
Thank
of applause to you guys for being here and for inviting me. Thank
That's
you.
right. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
But I hope you're ready,
Yeah.
girl, because right now we got a little Would You Rather with King Roy.
Oh shit, let's do it.
So, you know what I'm
Let's
saying?
do it,
I
let's
got
do
a
it.
few questions
All
for
right,
you
all
before
right,
we
all
end
right.
this podcast.
Okay.
Okay, well, let's get back
And
to it.
it's going to go. No, just to end it off,
Oh
you
my
know.
gosh, shit! I was like,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
fuck
Steph
it.
was like, all right, cool, I'm about to head home.
Little did you know.
Okay,
But
okay.
here we go. Would you rather lose your voice or your sight?
Ugh,
She said, fuck, hit me
Ah.
where it hurts. You feel me?
this is like Little Mermaid status.
Yeah.
Lose your lose my sight
Okay,
for sure.
okay.
I feel like you even see a lot even with your eyes closed.
Ooh, okay. Okay, next question. Would you rather have a Texas accent and live in New York or live in New York accent and live in Texas?
I feel like live in Texas with a New York accent. I have
Okay.
family in New York, so I love it. I love New
She
York.
said, I know how it is down there.
I don't even know what a New York accent sounds
New
like. I don't
Yorker?
know. New Yorker, Brooklyn.
Yeah.
From
Okay,
Brooklyn.
next
something like
question.
that.
Would you rather travel the world and sing without pay or get paid $5 million and only travel to 3 places and call it a career
You know what? Travel the world.
without
Obviously.
getting paid?
Because that's it's different kind of richness.
Ooh, okay.
Different kind of, richness for
Steph
sure.
got gems, man.
Okay.
She,
Shit.
she,
Next
she,
question.
she understands it.
Would you
know what I
rather
mean?
be able to stop time or fly?
Ugh. Stop time or fly.
I thought that was your answer.
You know
caught
what?
me there.
I've had so many dreams where I'm just like flying. You know what? Like I have dreams where I'm just like soaring, and
Yeah.
I feel like that's shit. That's timeless, So
So
I'm gonna
you
do
choose
fly.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Do you
okay.
have wings or you don't have wings?
No, I don't have wings.
That's
oh,
right.
shit.
I just
Okay,
fly.
okay.
I'm like
Just
Superman
hovering?
status. I'm just hovering. Like literally like
Just looking
dreams
at
where like
motherfuckers like
I'm in the middle of the night and I'm just like running through my neighborhood and go
On some ET shit.
and just like
She's
and just
like-
like phew.
she's like,
Yeah, like bad motherfuckers. Like I'm
Yeah.
just like yeah, but it's great.
feel
Those are
like-
my best dreams.
Okay, speaking about that now,
Okay.
the next question has to relate to that. Would you rather be a deep sea diver or an astronaut?
Astronaut.
Oh, okay. I kind of
was-
had that shit figured out.
Yeah.
Okay, so-
Cosmos. That's everything.
That's
Or
right.
heavenly bodies.
That's right.
Would you rather be a bird or a shark?
A bird.
Baby
Yeah.
shark. do, do, do,
Last
do, do,
question.
baby
Is
shark.
that-
Last question. Would you rather have a dragon or be a dragon?
I mean, if you have a dragon.
Be a dragon.
I mean, I don't know if you can
or
start Game of Thrones, girl,
have
but
it.
you feel me?
You know what? I did watch Game of Thrones and Daenerys. She was a shit. But
She
the
was fine.
dragons themselves were the shit,
Hell yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like
That's a cool little tricky one because both of them are fucking kick ass. Awesome.
that's true. Wait, what was the question again?
Would you rather have a dragon as an O1 as Daenerys, or would you rather be a dragon?
What type of dragon though? Like
Yeah.
Shrek?
Any
Like
dragon
like
you
like
want.
like Shrek? Like Donkey's girlfriend type?
or like
dragon?
Harry
Yeah.
Potter dragons?
Yeah, you gotta be
Like what
specific.
kind of like how to
Any
train your
dragon
own
you
dragon?
want.
He got powers or not?
Mm. Shit.
I don't know. I feel like I don't like this whole idea of like owning a dragon, So I feel like I would just like be the dragon.
Oh,
Because then you gotta get
Yeah.
him shots. It's like that
Right.
must be
Yeah.
expensive.
Hell
Like,
yeah.
fucking
Finding
be
a
the
leash
dragon.
must be
You
hard
feel
on
me?
Amazon. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
you
Where do you
know,
get the
and
leash
Right,
like
you're
that?
right. You saw what happened to Daenerys and shit.
I did.
Like that?
I
Who's
did.
Daenerys? I'm not.
Daenerys.
As the
from
one
Game
that
of
owned the
Thrones.
dragon from Game of
Mm.
She
Thrones.
was the dragon queen.
Targaryen, yeah. She was
Mm.
Targaryen, the dragon queen.
I'm acting like I know.
Ah.
It's okay.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Daenerys. Yeah. Oh yeah.
That was it?
That was it?
All right.
She said that's how you got, motherfucker.
I was ready for more.
Yeah. She said,
Oh,
"Dang, you didn't
shit.
do your research, bitch."
I mean, damn, that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Yeah.
6. I gave you 7. Usually
That's
I
what-
get
that's
5,
good.
you feel me? But
That's
I gave
cool.
you 7. It's like
I
that.
was ready for it. But yeah, thank you so much for having me.
No,
It's
hell
been a
yeah.
blast.
Thank you for
Like,
coming
out. Yeah.
it's been an absolute pleasure. So thank you.
Hell yeah, we appreciate it. Hang with Beatdrop, let's get it.
Episode 62,
Yeah.
baby.
62, everyone. Stay tuned and hope you guys check out what we had to say today.
Boom, there it is.